Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. I hope everyone is doing okay this morning. I believe back home. Where's this morning, regardless, right? Whether it's back home or otherwise. Let me check, make sure everything is up and running before we kick off on this crusade, this journey into the unknown. All right, good. Guys, if you enjoyed the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. And like I always say, you can always support through Patreon. And since the site has been remonetized, you can also support through Super Chats. The Pentagon, we've approved in 2019, this was a few days ago, a military budget for 2019 of $717 billion with a B. It's nearly $1 trillion. This is eating up almost half of what we take in. This is a magnificent sum of money, like an ungodly sum of cash that we're devoting purely to military. I don't like continuously doing shows like this because I feel like at some point you become a broken record. Year after year after year after year, you got to point to, oh my God, look at all the money that we're spending. And if we're spending on that, what aren't we spending that money on? Oh my God. Now, simultaneously, Donald Trump has given a massive, massive tax cut that we are going to have to take on to the tune of trillions. So this is the situation to which you find yourself where the military gets $717 billion. Trillions is drained from the coffers. I think it was like $4 trillion drained from the coffers. Our budget at this point is over $20 trillion. Then our budget, our debt is over $20 trillion. This is amazing. I'm not going to tackle this from the standpoint of the amount of money that we're spending, at least not immediately. I want to talk about a little something different. Americans, I think, see this and think this is defense. I see this and see this is a war budget. How much money are we going to spend on war? That's what I see this as, because that's relatively true. And they don't understand, because of the way media feeds them a very sliver perspective, meaning our perspective. We don't call it American media. Like, you don't put it at the bottom, this is this kind of American propaganda. You look at it as NBC News or CNN. It is American propaganda. All of the other media organizations, whether you want to call it BBC or Telesur, they have a particular perspective of the world. Your perspective here from the standpoint of the United States is no different than that. It's just a perspective. Insofar as those perspectives hit up against actual reality, that's where you get this idea of truth or non-truth. I am stuck with an unenviable disposition of looking at what my country is spending on war and asking the question, will this war budget of $717 billion be used to the best? We killed 2 million in Vietnam. We interceded in the war with Afghanistan, meaning supporting forces in Afghanistan in order to push back against the Russians and give them their own Vietnam. But these guys ended up being Al-Qaeda. We assisted in it, well, we destroyed Iraq, we destroyed Libya, and we've been assisting in the destruction of Syria right now to the tune of 500,000 people dying. Even before taking military operations in Iraq, the sanctions that Bill Clinton put on Iraq killed 500,000 kids. Why do you believe that this money is going to be used to the best? Why do you believe that? You know, if you look back and you look at some of the stuff that I think it was James Madison, George Washington, Eisenhower, warning about these standing armies. And beyond looking back at that, you can look at the Romans, for that matter. You can, even to some, British Empire was a little different because they wired their system a little different. But still, I'm making a point that this war budget is not a thing unto itself. It's draining resources from other things. From the relative perspective standpoint, what do you think the perspective of someone living in Vietnam at the time where the United States was interceding in that country? The United States was going with a particular disposition of fighting communism and all this other stuff. But that's not the disposition of the people in Vietnam. Their disposition was, we're trying to throw off the yoke of imperialism of the French, and the United States is taking up the mantle of that imperialism. who's true. The Vietnamese is perfectly valid in their perspective, seeing as Americans were killing them and invading their country. We're doing the same thing in Syria from the standpoint of instigating rebellions in those countries. I'm just making the point to you that the American perspective of this is not the perspective. And when I'm a person sitting on the moon looking at this and I think, oh my God, they're spending nearly $1 trillion. And are they going to be doing God's work? Have they been doing God's work? And the answer, of course, is no. The answer, of course, is no. Even if you don't care about the people being murdered in your name, you should care about what else you could be getting in response, as opposed to them spending money on essentially murdering people abroad. This is Jacobin. Medicare for all. Medicare for all has become a top issue item on progressives' wish lists, raising the ire of conservatives and centrists everywhere. But despite the cries of fiscal skulls, Medicare for all is not as much as you think. $717 billion military budget is about $12 billion shy of the needed government expansion in order to ensure 200 million more Americans, or 200 million U.S. children and adults who currently have private insurance or no insurance at all. Free college. Free college for all is completely affordable, especially if you have a Pentagon budget at your disposal. The military $717 billion could pay full tuition for all 4-year at a public university for 21 million college students. More students than currently enrolled in college across the country. Food assistance. And right now, Congress is currently debating the merits of cutting $24 billion over 10 years of food stamps and relative assistance for the poor. That's amazing, right? Together, the proposed cuts and rule changes could result in 3 million Americans losing their food assistance. Trimming the Pentagon budget by $2 billion a year, a reduction of less than 0.5%, will make up the difference in keeping the food stamps and its programs intact. They're giving the Pentagon $717 billion while being okay with kids going hungry. That's where we're at. Planned Parenthood. Reduce fossil fuel emissions. There's an asteroid that's about to hit the planet. What are you going to do with the asteroid that's about to hit the planet? You're spending $717 billion on war. You have an actual issue that may end our existence on this planet. But yeah, let's keep dumping resources into war. And even if you don't care about anything else, even if you don't care about anything else, even if you take the disposition, look, I don't care if we're murdering people around the globe. I don't care if we're invading countries. I don't care if you use my tax dollars to foment revolutions and then come up with these moralistic arguments, the humanitarian reasons why you need to bomb and murder other people and go into other countries. I don't care about that stuff. Most people still care about infrastructure. Do you like shitty roads? Do you care about creating infrastructure like speed rail and all this other stuff into the country? Why don't you want an upgraded, modern society? And how are you going to pay for it? And if you're spending $717 billion on the military budget, how are you going to pay for it? My point in this is simple, and I'm making this point in several ways, yes. But you are spending an ungodly sum of money on the military. That money could be used for things that are in your best interests and in your society's best interests. One more thing, I looked up something else. What were the military budgets in the other countries that necessitate this? Because after all, this is more money than we were spending in all of the other wars, if I'm not mistaken, combined. This is more money than other nations combined. Look at this. How much do you think Russia is spending on its military? They're supposed to be our enemy. How much do you think Russia is spending? It's not this number, by the way. So let me get rid of this because I don't want people to get a bad impression. What do you think they're spending on their military? Russia is only spending $61 billion. Just so we're clear, we're spending $717 billion. They're spending $61 billion. Guess how much China is spending? China is spending $224 billion. Yes, again, we're spending $717 billion. Guess how much Iran is spending? They're supposed to be our big shit enemy. $2.5 billion. You are being sold a bill of goods. That's what you're being sold. This money is just being dumped into the coffers of people who contribute to these guys' campaigns, or into this kind of militaristic coffers. Mike Pompeo was just found supporting a policy of murdering Yemenis when he thought that it would adversely affect the weapons contracts from Saudi Arabia. I'm trying to get across to you that this is not the Department of Defense. This is the Department of War. This is a standing army that's finding a use, pillaging, and killing in other countries. What I will point to you is the last empires went through the same route, and the last empires died for some of similar reasons. I will forward you or put to you to check out Chalmers Johnson on YouTube and check out his books. He is an amazing historian, military historian, looking at how societies fail, how societies fall, and part of the way that these empires fell was having all of this resources and money dumped into a militaristic complex that ate away at liberty of the human beings that were in the society itself. Meaning all of the resources were being hoarded up, and all of the power was being essentially taken into this kind of executive branch. And the United States is executive branch, but the United States is modeled in similar terms of Rome. This is not to our betterment. And one last point, one last argument. The United States spends twice as much as any other nation for health care. Twice as much. We're talking about a Medicare for all debate. Jamal, why are you talking to me about Medicare for all when we're talking about military? Give me 1 second to explain. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. Why are you talking to me about Medicare for all? We spend twice as much as any other nation for healthcare around the globe. We don't get twice as much or twice as better healthcare. In fact, the United States is rated like 30-something with regards to healthcare. Now, in being ranked 30 of something, despite spending more, twice as much than anybody else, you have to ask the question, why are you spending so much to get so little? And then you ask the secondary question, are there better outcomes? Like, why are you spending this much money? What they found when they were doing analysis, it wasn't that the service was better. It wasn't that you even had Americans using healthcare more. It was gouging. It was gouging. It was price gouging. And it's a logical conclusion. I mean, it's a logical thing. You've allowed capitalists to get their hands on a medical instrument. So, oh, you have cancer. I'm sorry about that. Pay me. Pay me. I want your goddamn money. I don't care about your cancer. Yes, we will treat your cancer, but you need to pay me. Oh, you need this pill. You need this drug. Oh, your kid is sick. Pay us. Give us money. That's the healthcare industry. That's why you're paying twice as much for healthcare. Now, let's move over to the military-industrial complex for the moment. Why do you believe that that's going to be somehow different? Are Catholic priests raping kids? I thought they were supposed to be people of God. Now, yes, you don't look under the covers of the Catholic priests because they're supposed to be people of God, but oh my God, you look under the covers. Oh my God, they're raping kids. They're raping kids. My point to you is that any institution that defies this thing of insight and looking into, I would wager to you, would fester. It would fester. It would be decrepit. And the military, the bloated budget of the military, belies this thing of inspection. 40% of the military budget is black, meaning Congress itself can't even figure out what the fuck they're doing with the money. And they're supposed to be the body that oversights. There is no oversight in the capacity that you're talking about, that you think of. This is the Department of War, and you're dumping billions. We spend twice as much for healthcare. Why do you believe that the industrial complex will be different? Meaning, all of this money that you're spending, why do you believe you're getting bang for your buck? The question is not even asked. Why do you believe you're getting bang for your buck? Why do you believe that this is different? In all of these other capitalistic endeavors, you're being gouged in healthcare to the tune of twice as much. Why do you believe that for whatever reason the military is going to be somehow different than other capitalistic enterprises when you're buying equipment from these guys, when you're paying money out to these guys, and this stuff is just black? What I'm pointing to you is you're being gouged. You're being gouged. It is logical as can be. You are being gouged. This budget needs to be cut in half. That's my point. And that money needs to be used to the things invested in the society itself. If you want to make an argument and me cut it larger in half, fair enough. My point is, it needs to be cut significantly. And the resources and investments need to be focused on what's taking place in the country, not out there. We are creating our monsters. The people that you bomb, that you kill, that you injure, that you hurt, with this bloated military budget, is going to be angry at you, is going to look for ways to try to kill you. There is no safety in this. Fact of the matter is, there's a probabilistic chance that somebody that you've killed, meaning their family, their friends, their relatives, people who are within their tribe, people who are within their culture, will hit you back. It will hit you back. You're creating your monsters. That's my key point. This budget is bloated. This budget needs to be cut. I'll leave it at that. I see who's here. I can't believe anybody will be here this late. Danny Knapp, don't worry. Alex Jones said Donald Trump is fighting the deep state for us. Well, if Alex Jones said it, it has to be completely true, right? It has to be true. Hold on, let me check Streamlabs because someone was nice enough to contribute to the show, and I appreciate it. You know, Donald Trump has said that he couldn't afford, or that we couldn't afford, to give a raise to public sector workers while giving tax cuts, and while, you know, these guys are giving a budget of $717 billion. There's a certain unreality to this that's breathtaking. Insomnia Soapbox. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Progressive Insomnia Box. Well, keep in mind, Beltazar, from my standpoint, from my relative time zone, it is 11 in the morning. It is 11:28 in the morning here. Usually I just wait until 5 in the evening here so I can do the show in the morning there, but yes. Has anyone seen Donald Trump say Alex Jones in the same room together? Just saying. Oh, right. You're trying to say the same person. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not sure. It would never happen. They're killing us with food, etc. Ernest Vitting. All right, guys. I have a slate of shows planned, so I'm going to be back shortly. So I'll end it here. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. And of course, you can always support through Patreon. I'm in Africa, Skip. Go back to Africa, Jamal. I'm still here, man. Gringo Mex. Thank you, Gringo Mex. Is that your way of saying do a 420? Is that your way of saying do 420? Gringo Mex wants a 420. Fair enough. It's always the topic. Always trying to think of interesting topics for the 420. Did you see the Rwanda speech at the UN? It's about 25 minutes long, but worth it. No, Danny, I haven't seen it. I'll watch it. I'll watch it. I watched it last time these guys were at the summits. Look, the UN conferences are usually fascinating. There are times where somebody would go to the conference, do a speech, and then after a while their country gets toppled, and you're like, and it wasn't because of the speech. The country was in the process of us instigating ourselves on those countries anyway. But it's always just so eerie. It's so eerie. Omar P. Conservatives have audacity to ask how we will pay for Medicare for all while beefing up the defense budget to kill countries with brown people who would never attack us. It's worse than that, Omar P. It's worse than that. You guys are like, whoa, dude, how is it worse than that? I'm in Kenya. In Kenya, labor is cheap in Kenya. So if you wanted to get a cab, the cab might be $1. But if you wanted to buy a product, the product is relatively what you spend in the United States. You can kind of see the problem here, right? If labor is cheap, but items are expensive, then you automatically have a certain degree of poverty that's instantiated just by the way you operate. We would come to this country and we would give them money. And we would go pay a bunch of poor people to go murder other poor people. So yeah, it's the audacity to say, how do we pay, while beefing up the defense budget, to pay other poor people to go and kill other poor people? Like, it's gross. It's extremely gross. And yeah, we could pay for Medicare for all. My issue here is, and I have a few issues with this. I wish I can get people themselves to understand that this is choice to some degree. On a higher level, it doesn't seem like that way when you're interacting on your affairs. But in realistic terms, from a rational human perspective, this is choice. Our choice, collective choice. Meaning the moment that we say no, it changes. Now, at a certain point, people get content with the way things are and say, okay, we can make do with this. It's like the dog taking a dump in the kitchen. Neither my wife and I wanted to pick it up, and so we just live with it. That's kind of what our society is. The dog taking a shit in the kitchen. Nobody wanted to clean it up, so we just live with it. God, the smell stinks, but ugh, fuck. I don't want to clean that up. She doesn't want to clean that up. Okay, so we'll accept it. At some point, somebody steps on it and be like, oh my God, who leaves the shit in the kitchen? In which case you clean it up. Now, the cleaning up is disgusting. It's nasty. It's gross. It stinks. But that's what cleaning it up is. Choice. This is kind of what I'm getting at. I understand why a few maniacs may want to do such a thing. My issue is, what about the rest of us? What about the rest of us? I say this over and over and over and over again in hopes that at some point, someday, things get bad enough where people are like, hey, that guy's right. Let's clean this shit up. They're spending $717 billion on a defense bill that is going to give brown people, African Americans who are outsourced, meaning there are more of us in the military because we use it as a job, to go kill other brown people around the globe, while also paying those brown people to join the military of the United States to kill other brown people. And by the way, if you don't believe me on that, do a search for U.S. military recruitment in Kenya. It comes right up on the webpage. Nobody's hiding it. I knew nothing about it. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. U.S. Army recruitment for Africans 2018. Think about that. Africans joining the United States military. The exact same thing. We are taking a dangerous trajectory and allowing the military to essentially catabolize. Catabolic reaction, yes. I think that's the right word. Is that right? Catabolic. Catabolic, is that right? My wife has her headphones on. I'm not snapping at her like a man. Like, wife, jump to it. It's not like that. She has her headphones on. She can't see me. Catabolic. That's right. Catabolic. What's the word? To eat away. To eat itself. I think the word is catabolic. Like a catabolic reaction. But it's a moot point. It's allowing the military to essentially eat away at the other aspects of American life. Hopefully somebody says, hey, that guy's right. Maybe we should have better infrastructure and a better society and not use that much money to create monsters, in which case we say, well, hey, we're creating these monsters, now we need to fight these monsters. All right, I'm going to end this here. Skip wants me to go back to Africa. I'm already at Africa. Yeah, cannibalize. Cannibalize. That's it, cannibalize. Not catabolic, cannibal. I knew I was close. Cannibalize, cannibalize. All right, I'm going to end this here. Yeah, the MEK, they're anti, they're a cult for all intents and purposes. They're an Islamic cult that Pompeo and, no, I'm sorry, not Pompeo, Bolton and Giuliani have been supporting and speaking at. No, it's catabolic. I knew it was catabolic. God damn it, I knew it. All right. Thank you, Supernautical, for the fact check on the spot. And I was right. Let everybody know it. All right, guys, I'm going to end it here. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through Patreon. Catabolic, destructive metabolism, the breaking down of a living organism of more complex substances than the simpler ones with the release of energy. I used to be a physics major. This shit is still in my head. I haven't did it in a long time. It's still floating around my head. So when I describe this stuff, I describe stuff sometimes in science terms. But it's right. That word catabolic was right. Catabolic these nuts, said Skip Rock. Saint Peace for Peace. Check it out. Earn his living. All right, guys. Y'all have a good one. I'll see you shortly.